Well, it's about the Niger Delta again. First, it has to do with the Bodo community that took Shell to court. And just yesterday, we got revelations that virtually all over the Niger Delta, there are loads and loads of oil spills in different communities. Joining us to look at the oil spills in the Niger Delta plus other matters from that particular region is enikhuomehin. He is the resident commissioner, NDDC, representing Ondo State. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, I'm quite sure you've been following all of that. When we talk about Niger Delta states or Niger Delta Development Commission communities, now tell us about the spills we get to find in some places like that and what the Commission and the government is doing in that regard.
I think the recent spill is just one among many spills that have occurred in the Niger Delta regions over the years. And comments that have come from the oil companies had always been that these things are done either by reason of sabotage or that they were not responsible for it or that something mischievous happened somewhere which led to the spill. Whatever the arguments may be, the spills that do occur in these areas can never be accommodated or encouraged at all. I recall that in Ondo State, precisely sometimes in 2006 or thereabout, 2005, 2006, there was this major spill within Awoye, down towards Ebinga communities, moving down towards Ikorigo, Obiazis. It was major, and unfortunately, it went the way others had always gone, and nothing serious was done. So when this recent spill happened in Ogoniland and other areas, one would have thought that as at now, that the various oil companies that operate within the Niger Delta region should be looking at the materials used as pipelines, which had stayed for over a period of time. Some of these pipelines have stayed for more than 40 years. And there is a need for a regular review, checking on this. If you have worn a cloth for 40 years, for goodness sake, that cloth, one thing or the other would have happened to it. And these same pipelines, if you see the force with which the crude moves within the pipelines, enormous. And for 40 years, these things have remained, and when there is a burst, and this occurs, somebody comes and says there is a sabotage. I think this is not quite acceptable. It's a matter that demands serious attention. And I think that our government should look just beyond the oil companies denying this. There should be the rule of strict liabilities. Okay. Where this occurs, the companies or companies that are operating in these areas in which can be traced to this spill should be held responsible for it.
Your lawyer, sorry, Neotek, we don't know if your lawyer. The Shell did say, well, we don't have that law that compels them to pay when it has to do with sabotage for compensation.
You see, if a man carries out a hazardous activities within a premises, and then the hazardous activity has led to the damage caused to somebody else, will the person come and say, I won't be held responsible for it? It looks, it smacks of not just being sincere. These oil activities, to a large extent, while it brings succor to some persons, for the people where these things are being operated upon, and the communities where this oil spill occur, these communities suffer for it. The water will be undrinkable. Unfortunately, most of them don't even have drinkable water in the first instance. They go to the stream, and the stream is destroyed. Then you go to the ecosystem, you look at the trees, and these are the things that occur. And somebody who works in this area will now come and say, I do not think it is necessary. You would have left the environment the way it was in the first instance. Okay. So the truth of the matter is this. Oil companies that operate within this area should do more. And I also think that our laws, if they are not sufficient enough to tackle this, should become stricter, so that those who carry out hazardous activities within an environment, if there is any mischief that is done to anyone, will be strictly held responsible, and they should pay adequate compensation for that particular purpose. Aside from the cleansing of the areas and removing of those what they call the spill, they should also pay adequate compensation. That will also teach a lesson that anyone who does that should be careful and operate within the reasonable limit of diligence of what is required of them.
Okay, NDDC responsible for infrastructural development in the Niger Delta. Now, have you had any run-ins with these oil companies, especially as regards the oil pipelines they use?
Interestingly, looking at Section 7 of the NDDC Act, one of the provision of the NDDC Act is that the commission also should also look at the issue of oil spillages. It is a fundamental function of the commission. Two strands. One, we are to do development, but also the activity of oil pollution, oil spillages that occur within this area also form within the ambit of the functions that the commission should carry out.
So you've had run-ins with them?
The truth of the matter is this. It will appear to all intent and purpose that that particular function, the commission has not effectively handled it. That particular aspect of it. One, because we have been saddled with activities of the development of that particular region, providing infrastructural facilities, providing roads and water, human capital development, and all that will be required. On this issue of oil spillage, I should think that there should be a synergy between organizations that are primarily saddled with it, like what do we call it? Is it SEPA that handles in the state, and the one that handles at the national level.
Nostra.
Yes, Nostra, that has to do with oil spillages. So that when these various organizations are working, there should be a kind of synergy between them and our commission, because the effect of all this, if we are building roads, if we are making waters, if we are constructing boreholes and all that, and the spillage occurs, and then devastate and destroys every other thing, it affects us. So there should be a connection between us and them for the purpose of getting this area
I was going
addressed.
to ask you how you can effectively carry out your functional infrastructural development if, like the pictures we're seeing on screen there, if those kind of things are happening, because your cement, all the things you use in your construction cannot be effective with this kind of things on ground. So now that you've not been doing that function, are you still saying that we should go back to the government to hold the oil companies responsible?
The truth of the matter is this. I did say that our primary function will be in an environment that is stable, in an environment where there are no discrimination. All we are supposed to saddled with is the issue of providing infrastructural facilities. But the lawmakers, in their wisdom, also thought that while we are doing this, this may occur. Okay. And therefore they say, NDDC, if this occurs, please do ensure that things are put in proper place, in proper perspective. But you do know that our function will not be as much as the one that is saddled with the commission, or the body that is saddled with primarily addressing the issue of oil spillage.
But since these things have been occurring in that area, what has the NDDC done towards helping the situation, since those saddled with the primary responsibility, in quote, appear not to be doing it?
Well, I do not want to cast aspersion as at now. I do not know what level, because I read just of late that there is a United Nations environment program that submitted its report to government as to what should be done in this respect. Unfortunately, I have not laid my hand on that copy of that report. I'm told it's about 1,000-page report, which will advise some of us. Okay. But to all intent and purpose, the Commission has always, on its own part, we do not have a coercive power to be able to say this and this we should do. The member that represents the oil company within the commission, one way or the other, more often than not, will liaise with and say, our colleague, this is an area where we feel not too comfortable. Because of a truth, the oil companies that operate within the Niger Delta contribute 3% of their earnings to the commission in order to be able to address the financial crisis, the financial, what they call, stand of the commission. That is, and we must commend them that they do this almost religiously. In fact, close to about 70 to 80% of the oil companies pay full to our commission. But that is not to say that if there are owners or activities that they are supposed to carry out, that they shouldn't do it. Or that because they contribute, the function devolves on us, we should therefore not go out and carry that done. But then, because there is a body, or there are bodies that are saddled with this responsibility, who have the primary responsibility of doing so, ours is just the effect. Once they carry out their own function, then we go ahead and see what we can do to ameliorate or reduce the pain of the people within the region. But this pain should not be a constant factor. For example, you've there is what they call a farmland that NDDC, one way or other in its agric program, has been able to set up, and the farmland is completely destroyed. Then we come next tomorrow again and do it, and then the other year it comes again, the oil spilling. That won't be what is expected of. I think, on a very serious note, what is required that a good number of these pipelines are already old. So pipes rather are already old. Over 40, 50 years. Some of them have been on the ground. These are the things that should be a routine check on them. Will go a long way in solving our own problem, because ours is to intervene and see what we can do. The other one becomes secondary.